in this webinar series number 4 from Zero Emissions Byron. Just before we actually formally start, just like to say hello to Russ and to Alex. And Russ, give me a sense of what you're hoping will canvas tonight.
Just looking forward to going through the pack and obviously talking about all the projects we're working on as well, finding out a bit more about Alex's stuff that he's up with at the moment. Obviously, hearing all the great questions that the attendees are going to send us, as well as usually a few curvy ones. So looking forward to seeing those come through as well.
Great. Alex, that's a fantastic background you've got there. You actually look as though you're in the workshop.
Yeah.
How are things with EV Classics?
Yeah, pretty good. It started slowly, probably the first half year, especially with Corona. But now people, especially through Corona, started to think about more what it can do in the future, or how we got a sustainable future around us. So it's picked up a lot. So a lot of interest coming in, and as well some orders.
Yeah.
Alex, is there a sense of a demographic? Are there more younger people who are interested in EVs, or are you finding older people with classic cars coming to you and saying, can you convert this?
It's a good question. I would say mainly it's more, or what I see, it's more family dads. They got already maybe a car handed, classic car, for example, handed over from their family, and they want to give this to their family, and they want to prepare it for the future, especially for the kids. So they start to have these ideas and the design, and they want to take their kids on a journey and convert this for the kids, so they have this still in 30-40 years.
Great. Okay. Look, we might formally get underway. We've passed 6 o'clock. I'd firstly also like to welcome any of our audience who've tuned in and thank them for being part of this Zero Emissions Byron webinar. So here we go. Hello and welcome to this Zero Emissions Byron webinar on electric vehicles. This is webinar number 4 in our 8-part series looking at electric vehicles. And tonight we're all about EV conversions. My name is Mick O'Regan, and it's my great pleasure to be your moderator tonight. To begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the ground where I'm sitting tonight in the hinterland of beautiful Byron Bay, and that's the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation. And I pay my respects to leaders past, present, and emerging. I'm confident that that same spirit is being echoed in lots of places where people acknowledge the wonderful contribution of the Aboriginal custodians. I'd also like to acknowledge the sponsors of this Zero Emissions Byron webinar series. Our principal sponsor is Bank Australia, our major sponsor is the NRMA, and our community sponsors are Light Touch Solar and Electrical, Innova Community Energy, and Club Car. Our thanks to all of them, and our encouragement to those people who can use their services to do so. Without sponsors, we don't have a webinar. Now, as I mentioned at the top, tonight's webinar series is EV conversions, how we turn internal combustion engines into electric vehicles. And we couldn't have two better guests. Russ Shepherd and Alex Bocine are both leaders and innovators in this field. Russ is the founder of Evolution, Australia's only dedicated electrical vehicle workshop, specialising in conversions, repairs and servicing. His team are focused on advancing conversion technology, increasing the knowledge and understanding the processes to enable scale repurposing of older cars to electric drives. One of his more interesting projects at the moment is to convert Australia's first electric work ute. So the Deniliquin Ute Festival one day will actually see a whole range of electric vehicles, and that'll be fantastic. Joining us too from his workshop in the Byron Bay Industrial Estate is Alex Bocine. Now, Alex is a former Lufthansa technical engineer, so he has an amazing history in motor technology. And what he's done with a partner is to create EV classics, where they're actually converting classic cars, VW combis and Beetles to all electric with a range of up to 320 kilometres on a single charge. The VW conversation includes genuine VW parts based on new electric cars. So it's an interesting combination of older technology with cutting edge technology. So to begin with, welcome to Russ and welcome to you, Alex.
Thanks for having us.
It's great that you're here. So I think we'll kick this off, Russ, with a slide presentation that your team has presented.
Sure. Oh, what a good-looking fella. You're going to see a difference here between people who have hair and don't have hair, I think, here. So, yeah. So, first of all, thanks everyone for joining us. Yep, my name's Russ Shepherd from Evolution and EVO. And, yeah, look, we're working hard at the moment to create scalable and repeatable conversions out of a high-tech workshop in Victoria. And I'm very lucky to have such talent behind me to be able to make this happen, and an ensemble of team members to have all that to enable all this essentially. So yeah, very lucky indeed. Look, ultimately Evolution started about 5-6 years ago with conversion of an Audi A3, and pretty much since then the demand for EV conversions has been glacial, I guess, really to start off with, but it has actually improved significantly. Certainly in all that kind of 12 to 18 months, it's just staggering the difference in the interest, and obviously the technology has improved as well. So yeah, look, we're excited to be a part of this evolution, revolution, whatever you want to call it. And it's even more exciting to see all these old vehicles that wouldn't ordinarily be left in a field to be brought back to life and have a second lease on life, essentially. So if you can go to the next slide, I guess. There we go. There's some hair. There's some hair for you.
Yeah, that's I think I had a haircut. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the invitation and to bring my part as well to the journey, or to a new modern technology combined with classic cars. For me, it started in a way of being an engineer and going still pretty regular back to Europe, to Germany, seeing what happened over there, and then coming back to Australia as well with a big passion of classic cars, of course, combis. That's what I grew up with. Lived as well for quite a long time in a combi. This combined took me to a passion, being an engineer, and said, I need to do something. I want to do something, especially as well living in a community like Byron, which brought me here in this wonderful nature. Sustainability, it's pretty high. This thought and pushed me to do something more, and as well having my classic cars, work with them, have quite a few, we got as well a rental car business with classic cars, coming to the point and say, oh, there is a lot, and these cars getting to a point where we can't keep up anymore with the repairs, with the technology. And this pushed me a bit forwards to think, what can we do? How can we keep these cars? Because if quite often you just get a perfect restored, or just a car which is just in perfect nice conditions, and you want to keep this, it's way too hard to throw away. And for like for example, for a combi and one in the back, you can't buy any more fuel pump. So if the fuel pump goes, what you do now these days, you start with more electric parts. But then why not? Then you got a car which is already 40 years old, give it another 40 years. So this pushed me to bring quite a lot of, as well, some German technology, sorry to say this, but especially VW technology to Australia, and try as well to keep the VWs alive.
Yeah.
And that's what I do, and that's what I try to push more and more, and keep this, nice classic cars keep them alive. I think as well they're safe cars, they're solid cars, and if you get rid of this engine, this smelly, dirty, oily engine, then we have a wonderful, beautiful car, and you can have some small upgrades, like for example, we install as well power steering, so which just makes it, oh, here we go, now it's nice. I don't have to work hard on this car. Now I've got a nearly modern car which is now set up for the next, let's say, 30-40 years.
Yeah, we've got on the next slide. It's actually, I think that falls in quite nicely actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, look, it's pretty, once you go through these steps, it's actually pretty obvious, like I said at the beginning, why convert to a nice petrol vehicle into EV? You're recycling the car and components. There's so many vehicles that are on people's driveway, and there might be a third or a fourth car on Club Rego or whatever you want to call it, but they're not really used because they're considered being reliable, or you go out to them and ironically the 12-volt battery is flat when you want to use it, and parts are an issue, and it's just
mechanics.
It's just a nightmare. And you don't want to be wearing it out or simply wearing it out as well. So the upcycling rather than recycling is very much a thing for us, and obviously the same for Alex as well. And look, there's other components which we're working on at the moment. So obviously classic cars, the specialist and fleet vehicles, and experimental vehicles, which is we're working on as a Skunkworks. Well, there's a couple of Skunkworks projects we're working on at the moment, which unfortunately we can't really talk about because they're all very hush hush. But
is it possible just to say what Skunkworks is, Russ?
Oh, it's where we have a customer who comes to us and says, we want to try and achieve this. Here's some funding, go away and let us know what you come up with, basically. But on the understanding, we're given carte blanche to use our A, the funding, and B, our creativity, in the hope of creating something hopefully revolutionary and market leading. Essentially, that's what that means. And we're lucky to be able to have been approached recently by a couple of separate companies and government organisations to do that for them. So we're pretty humbled to be approached like that. So as I say, I can't talk too much about it, but there's obviously government and corporate companies who are seeing the opportunity for converting vehicles that you wouldn't ordinarily perceive as being electric conversion candidates, relatively modern, relatively specialized, that if you convert to electric and you give them very specific functionality that only electric can provide, then that could end up with being something pretty amazing at the end of it. So, and the last thing is, low cost, low kilometer at scale conversion. So we're working on a few of those at the moment as well, where the repeatable thing will keep coming up. I'll keep mentioning that all the way through the pack, but we're at pains to make a lot of these things repeatable. So far, in the last couple of months, every vehicle that we've been asked to convert has been different from one thing to the other. So that's unfortunate, but the intent is that we'll end up, doing multiple, converting multiple Range Rovers, multiple Land Rovers, and then the cost at scale will come down, especially if it's a fleet vehicle, for example. So hopefully I haven't rambled on too much, but hopefully that gives you a sense of where this is going. It's not just for classic vehicles. There's more to it than this, more to it than that, certainly from what we're seeing anyway at the moment. Probably anything to add, Alex? Do you want to go next slide?
No. Pretty good. Yeah. Go to the next slide.
So this is one of the vehicles we're currently working on at the moment. Just a little bit of a story behind this. This was actually a parts car. This is a 1976 two-door Range Rover, pretty rare in its own form anyway. But we found it in a backyard, and it was actually being stripped for parts at the time, and we took Pete on it. And this is actually going to be our fleet vehicle for EV Up, which is we're and another one of our companies is a charge point operator. So rather than going, I don't know, to a dealer, for example, and this is the difference here as well, rather than going to, I don't know, a Jaguar dealer and buying an I-Pace or something like that, or a Nissan Leaf or what have you, we're going to be converting this to full electric with modern accoutrements like, you know, proximity locking doors, heated seats, and all of that kind of stuff. And the cost for the conversion will be far less than an I-Pace by a long way, by a country mile, and you know, it'll be far more interesting as well, to be quite frank too. And it's got a story behind it. You know, we contacted the previous owners of the car. We know what kind of life it had before. It was loved at one point, loved again, and then not loved anymore, and then essentially reversed into a tree. And then we found it when it was actually, the gearbox it had 2 gears selected at once, which is why it was parked up. So it's really nice to have a, you know, to meet one of these cars that's had a story and have the opportunity to bring it to life. I'm sure Alex has got similar experiences with some of the vehicles he's worked with as well.
Just before we hear from Alex, because a question's come in, Russ, from Katrina. Now, she's got a 21-year-old Toyota Hiace camper van, and she's wondering, can that be converted? And I'd like the kind of corollary is, can any car be converted to an EV?
I'll let Alex answer this, actually.
Okay.
Because it's a bit harder than that. There's a bit more to it than that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is probably you can most of the cars. It is a factor of price, of course, and engineering you put in. And then the another point is as well range, how far you can go, because just consider as more you go, you more batteries put in. So you add more on weight. So, and that's quite a tricky point to level out. How much weight can I add? How much battery can I add to get to this range? Is the car strong enough to hold it? So that's one point. The other point is, if you go to more modern cars, yes, you can do quite a lot of modern cars, but you hook up to quite a lot of electrical parts, which you still can do, but all these factors cost a lot. So that's what Ross said before. We try as well to get to more a standardized, probably we would like to go standardized package, which could bring the car to the price of each conversion down. So coming back to your question, yes, we could convert a car like this.
And just to follow on from that, sorry,
Sure.
Pretty much any car can be converted. It's a matter of cost. And my favorite story is from, I think 6 months ago, someone rang up and said, "Oh, can you convert my Hyundai XL?" And the answer is yes, we can, but it will cost the value of 8 Hyundai XLs to do it. And also at the end of it, no one's going to care about your electric Hyundai XL, to be quite frank. So there's kind of there are certain cars that lend themselves to it. And some of them, quite frank, kind of don't.
Right. Now, I think you may have answered this when Alex was speaking, but there's a question's come in from Muriel, and it's specific. Are old cars too heavy for the batteries to last very long?
Oh, not really, because heavy, what means heavy? Quite often it's the motor and the gearbox, which are pretty heavy. So if you get rid of them, then you get already a lot of weight. For example, when I did the conversion on the first combi, I just added, I think, 80 kilos because we pulled out the motor and the fuel tanks. So quite often you gain straight away. You straight away gain weight, which we can use for batteries. Another point is heavy means quite often it is a strong structure where you can add on quite a lot more batteries.
Yeah. So I find it's the way around. The more modern cars are heavier because they have a lot of systems which you know.
But coming back as well on some of the cars which you convert or not, I see it quite often as well it's not really the value. It is the value of the car, but quite often it's a sentimental value.
Yes.
And this is quite often what counts on a car and on a conversion. When I get a customer in, at first I check quite often, how is the structure of the car? Is it worth to spend the money? Because if you've got, let's say, a rust bucket, or you've got quite a lot of rust already in the car, then it's probably not worth to spend the money on it, because you straight away can buy for this price and easy one leaf or two leaf probably for a big conversion. So I think that's where you have to see. But if there's an emotional point in it, then yeah, quite often, yes, we can convert every car.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we go on the next slide, because there's one of Alex's as well. It's pretty cool.
Oh, here we go. That's where we are in the workshop.
Is
Yes,
that's the same combi we're seeing behind you now.
No, that's another one. No, it's a bit funny. I'm just in the corner. There is another one. It has exactly the same color, but just I don't so. But yes, that's we do a full restoration on it, and this will be this will be a one with fully genuine VW. Means we put all new modern VW parts in, which come, most of them, from the ID3 or ID4. So from brand new VW car, or from the supplier. This is in a way a cooperation with VW Components, which supply parts to a German company, and we work together as a cooperation. So, but this is what you see, that the one it's number. This was my first combi, and that's my.
It's beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It is this car. It's a totally new car in a way how I drive it. This is as well a big factor when you convert a car. You get quite often I get customers. They say, "Oh, you don't miss the noise?" No, not at all. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it, because now I can have the family in the car and we can talk. So that's a really nice extra, and the torque as well. It is such a nice, relaxing drive now, having this constant power, accelerate and take off, and you flow with the car. So it's something new, exciting, and gives a total new car. Quite often we got the normal shifting was a nightmare on this car. So we got rid of this, and now it's a modern car in a shell of a nice classic car. Quite often as well, another factor is you get sometimes people, they say, "Oh, what you do to this car? It's you're destroying it." Sorry, no, I don't destroy this classic car. I brought it back to life. It means exactly. It was somewhere parked in a garage, and like Ross Range Rover, it was parked up and it didn't drive anymore. And we took on this challenge, took it, spent the money, and brought it back and gave it a new life. If we wouldn't have done this, probably the car would go to the wrecker.
Yeah.
Now we're getting some very interesting questions coming through, Alex and Ross, and Russ, and I just thought I'd pop in a couple. One is about, what is the longest driving range that you've achieved in an EV conversion, and a corollary to that is, what's the approximate range one can expect for the price of a single EV conversion?
Alex, what's the approximate range one's going to expect for a single EV charging, EV conversion? Look, typically, it's down to the vehicle, but nominally it's 150 kilometers for a given, any given car, but as a starting point. But it's down to budget and the type of the car, and as Alex was saying, how much weight you can squeeze into it as well. So, but 150 is the minimum, but the sweet spot is typically around the 250 to around 350, that kind of thing. That's where you can go with these fairly easily with the battery technology that we've got at the moment. That's pretty straightforward. And the thing, just coming back to the 21-year-old Toyota Hiace camper van question, absolutely, yeah, that wouldn't be an issue, and that would be a really cool thing to do, especially if it's I don't think Hiaces are any less noble than a Volkswagen Combi, to be quite frank. Alex might disapprove, but or disagree.
No.
But
Sentimental.
you know, but if it's 21-year-old and if it's had a life, then why not give it another life? Yeah.
Right. Okay, just a quick question: can you convert a Prius?
Yes, but why? It falls in that category of why would you?
Yep.
I think, to be quite frank, because the amount of money required to convert it, when you could just buy a reasonably good quality Leaf for $15,000-$20,000, that kind of mark. That's the problem. If you're just looking for an A to B kind of car, then there's lots of options on the market. That's what people don't realize at the moment. There's lots of used Nissan Leafs on the market at the moment that are coming in from Japan, and they're awesome quality and they're great cars. So I'm not sure why you can convert it to electric. I'm not sure you should, to be quite frank, and I'm not sure if Alex would agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Before you answer, I have a question specifically about a converted VW Beetle, and the question is that the questioner says, I rode in a converted VW Beetle and it was still very noisy. I mean, possibly because of the gearbox. Can converted vehicles be as quiet as a modern EV?
Yes, straight away, yes. It is. There is now these days as well, the motor technology improved a lot. So the older motors, they were pretty loud. And yes, if you've got an old string axle gearbox, yes, they're noisy with the reduction hubs on the side. They're really noisy. And the new one I'm doing, I'm put a new complete drive unit in, which means it's a motor combined with the gearbox. So I get rid of the gearbox, and this is just one drive unit you put in. So you reduce the noise of the gearbox as well. So yes, it's different now.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, I just want to add on to Russ Prius. Quite often, what you have as well, when you convert modern cars, means you have to hook up to the electrics, to the CAN bus system. And this can be quite often a complicated task, because quite often you can't get any details from the supplier or from the manufacturer to work with this in combination in the car, or to do modifications on the car.
Yeah. Just quickly, we need to get through the other slides, I guess. It's just quickly. This is an interesting vehicle that's coming for us into us for conversion, but this is our fabricated by the way. He's called Big Tall Paul, and you can see the floor needs some work. So basically, this is one of the issues we see sometimes with the cars where they come into us, and we have to start with a restoration before we can actually convert to electric. And in the case of this one here, obviously the floors need to be replaced, but we're also having to strengthen the chassis as well, because it won't be able to handle the torque of the electric motor, because this is a Holden EJ. So we're really hoping to ruffle a few feathers, but by converting this to electric. It's an awesome car. It's beautiful, beautiful thing. Would
that car be nearly 50 years old?
Yeah, it's a 1963.
Okay.
Over 50 years old. Yep. So it came with a Holden grey motor. I think it's about 40 kilowatts or something like that. The original motor, 6-cylinder of all things. But I can't believe they get so little power out of an engine, but they do. So we're having to replace the floor, replace the chassis, strengthen it up front, and then so it will have, at the end of it, will have obviously a Hyper 9 motor in it, so it'll be pretty powerful. So we'll treble the amount of power and quadruple the amount of torque that it ever had, and then it'll have a 30 or 40 kilowatt hour battery, but then it'll have modern accoutrements, like it'll have proximity locking and heated seats, all that kind of stuff. But we're also introducing side impact protection bars as well. for safety, and a bigger brake kit and all this kind of stuff. So the intent with this is that it will be absolutely a daily drive, so it doesn't just, we don't just convert it, it ends up in someone's garage, someone will use it and will have the confidence to be able to use it on the freeway and be comfortable with it. So it's awesome. It's an awesome vehicle. But this is just a clue that some customers come to say, hey, would you mind awfully convert this car? By the way, it needs a bit of work. And then there's a bit of work, then there's this, I guess, really, ultimately. This is full on.
It's what Russ said. It's quite often we need to put some extra additional strengths into the car to hold, for example, the battery pack. So we got the regulations straight away, which tell us we need to, with the battery, when we add on batteries, they need to be in a safe compartment, and they need to be in a strong compartment in any case of crash. But as well, we add them on some locations where we have to reinforce some structure just to hold the battery packs. So that's as well quite often, which is sometimes a bit easier to do on older car than more on modern car. And as well, what he said, because we add on quite often a bigger engine, stronger engine, depend on the car, we upgrade as well from time to time the brakes.
Now, I have a specific question that you have in a way just answered, Alex, but I'm out of a respect for the person who's submitted it, and I'll read it in full. It said, my mechanic said converting a car to electric as opposed to buying a car built to carry an electric vehicle is dangerous, as the engine is so heavy it's not only prone to catching fire, but can also end up inside the vehicle if involved in an accident. Is there any truth to this? Are the converted vehicles as safe as they were with their original engine? And that's what you've actually just touched on, really.
Yeah, so look, again, these things are fully engineered. I know, see Alex sort of smiling. I could say something pithy, but I won't. I mean, look, these things are fully engineered. We're not just slapping these things together. And in a lot of the cases, I know Alex does this, and so do I. We'll go above and beyond what the engineer actually requires. It's not necessary for us to put side impact protection bars. It's just it's a prudent thing that we can do while the vehicle is with us. The motor and the batteries. One of our first vehicles we converted was an Audi A3 with airbags and ECUs and all this kind of stuff. There's a whole lot of calculations that are required to be made by the engineer to make sure the thing is going to be, A, is reliable, and B, is robust in the event of an accident. And they even have calculations in terms of where the weight is going to be within the vehicle, such that in the event of accident, it will go this way or that way. And in the case of the Audi, making sure that the airbags are going to go off in the right time, not too early, not too late, all of that kind of stuff. If the airbags go off half an hour after you've had the accident, that's not so good, right? So,
timing is everything.
No, absolutely. Time's everything. So look,
can I add?
Sorry, go, Alex, go on.
Can I add? The motor, synchro motor, a good motor starts with 40 kilos. So compare this please to an old engine, which we pull out, which is probably 200 kilos.
Yeah, so, I mean, the other thing is if the motor catches fire and ends up in the cabin of the car, at least it keeps you warm while the ambulance arrives, right?
Yeah, I'm Byron. It's always warm up here. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Think of the advantages if that's true. It's not true.
Yes, no.
Thank you for that, Russ. That's very reassuring. Could I just add a question? I noticed in the previous slide, there was a worker, obviously with a grinding tool or a cutting tool. And I wondered, is the skill set of a current mechanic, if he or she is working on internal combustion engines, are those skills easily transferable for a person to work on electric vehicles, or does a mechanic need to kind of totally re-equip to work on the EVs?
So what we find is that it needs an ensemble of skills to make this happen, to be quite frank. So I can do some fabrication, but I'm not the best. And that's the same across our team, that we have specialists for everything. So Paul's an excellent fabricator, He's like a Picasso with a grinder and a welding torch. He's just amazing. But he knows nothing about batteries. He knows a little bit. Actually, no, actually knows nothing. He actually knows nothing. So we can't have him involved with the batteries or the motor and all of that kind of stuff, all the coding, electronics and high voltage stuff and all that kind of thing. So it takes, for us, we've got 5 dedicated guys who are specialists in each of their fields who can perform this work. And even to the point where, we obviously, essentially we have a fabricator, electronic and electrical engineer, high voltage specialist, a mechanic. And so we need those guys to be able to, and obviously actually a CAD guy as well, to be able to draw some of this stuff up as well. So we need all those guys to be able to pull that together to be able to complete a vehicle. So that's what we say to customers who are thinking of DIYing. It's not just about bolting stuff together. You've got to be across a lot of these fields and be able to have, if not some experience, then absolutely some aptitude to be able to pull it off.
It does bring me to a question I'd like to ask, and I must admit this is a question that's been submitted by someone else. But apparently, there's a French company doing what they claim are 4-hour conversions, which to me sounds incredibly fast. A, do you think that's possible? And if so, how are they achieving it?
But it must be possible because they said it right.
In French, though.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, look, as I said off camera, we can barely fit a tow hitch within 4 hours, so let alone convert a vehicle. So I think they've obviously got some processes in place to make that happen. But no, we typically need 3 or 4 engineer visits at an hour a piece to be able to convert a vehicle. So I'm not quite sure how. Yeah, look.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
So Alex, what's your thoughts? Yeah.
No, yeah, it's the same. Like if I install a power steering, just a power steering, which is 4 hours. So it takes me an hour to take the car on the right spot onto the hoist. So
yes,
maybe they got a truck behind, or I don't know, a towed caravan with electric, which is pushing. I don't know.
No,
okay, but sorry. I'll let you get back to this next slide, which concerns finance.
Yes. Yeah.
Go up, I guess.
I had to add on as well as with talking before about workers or laborers which we use. I use quite a lot of companies around the Byron Shire, so which I try to involve, and which personally I think it will be a job creator.
Absolutely.
Because we give a new kind of jobs out. Like I use upholsterer, I use panel beater, rust repair, normal car mechanic, auto electrician. All these is combined, which we use to create a conversion or to convert a car. And I think this is just. It's pretty, we are just at the beginning, but I think in the long run, we should look into this as well, more as well coming probably from the government to see what we try to do in a bigger view to create as well jobs.
Yeah, I agree. And like we're not, obviously it feels good to be able to employ people, which is what we do. It's still a relatively small team, but obviously, like Alex says, we're outsourcing as well. So we have a machinist we use who has a $250,000 lathe, which we don't have the room or the skills to use. So he deals with that for us. And then we have a powder coater we use for all this kind of stuff. So there's all these other guys that we're farming work out to, and who we depend on. And it's great to be able to, especially given what's gone on in Melbourne recently, with all the lockdown and all that kind of stuff. It's actually really, really nice to still be buoyant and be able to provide these guys with work when in other areas they may be struggling potentially. Should we go through this, the answers, the questions here? How much have we answered these, do you think, Mick? Yes?
I think so, but I mean, look, if you go through them, I am interested in the how far questions, because we do have a number of questions that have come in. One of them, Russ, is interesting, is about the power and range. And for example, the question is, can enough power and range be achieved with a conversion, for example, to pull a trailer or a caravan?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done it ourselves already with one of our conversions. That's really not an issue. Range obviously takes a hit. The towing capability of the existing vehicle is still maintained, is still the same afterwards, certainly with the ones that we've converted. So that isn't an issue. And in terms of range, it's down to the amount of batteries that we can fit in and the customer can afford ultimately. I think Alex does this as well, but the way we approach conversions is we make them all scalable as well. So if a customer can only afford to, say, have a range with, a vehicle with 150 kilometers, but is seeking to increase that down the track, then we make sure all the components can scale up to accommodate that. So the charger and the DC to DC converter and the motor control and all that kind of thing can be extended. So you're not having to throw anything away. You should just be able to add more battery pack to it to give to give more performance and more range, essentially.
Right. Now, I'm not sure if this next question is related to that, but the question is, what is a crate, as in CRATE, a crate conversion kit?
Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll happy to take that. So it's something that's just been released. I think it's by General Motors. The great
one, yeah.
The great advocator of electric vehicles. So they have brought on the market essentially those who are familiar with some of the stuff that goes on, in the States would be familiar with LS swaps and all this kind of stuff, where you get an LS motor and a V8 in a crate, and then you just drop it into your whatever your General Motors vehicle of whatever description it is. And GM have actually created something which is similar, where it's a crate electric vehicle all in one propulsion unit, but I think it's minus batteries, so it's not quite. So it will fit up to the existing GM, say, automatic gearbox, which doesn't seem quite right either, to be quite frank, because you're not meant to use automatic gearboxes. So it's meant to be, it arrives in a crate, you drop it in, any mechanic can theoretically convert it, and then you can obviously connect it with some batteries and away you go. So it sounds really promising, but I think in practice, obviously there's still a bit of work to do. Any engine swap is going to be a little bit involved. It's not, you're not going to do it in half an hour.
It is. Sorry.
It sounds interesting.
It is in a way what we do already. So because it is just at the end a kit, which just is put together by General Motors, and that's what we do as well. If you've got, that's where Russ started at the beginning, where we try to specialize as well, to go to a special kind of cars and have already a setup kit. So there are quite a few companies where you can buy already these kits, and that's what we do here as well. So we got as well this kit, which is, like I said at the beginning, which is genuine VW. So this is all VW parts, components, with starting from a charger, from a converter, from a motor, means you can, at the end, at one day, you can go to VW dealer and you can say, I've got this part number, and have you got a replacement part? And then yes, we can give this to him. So we do this already in a way. It is just what happened now. It's a bit more advertisement, but
it's how it's been marketed.
Got this more and more.
Yes, it's how it's been marketed. Yes. I mean, the very first Audi we did was designed to be a drop-in anyway. So we've got an arrangement where we've got all the mounts that bolt up to the original chassis connections and to the existing gearbox, and on the cradle it's got it's got the motor, it's got the charger and some batteries and the DC-DC converter, and essentially back in a built-off car, then just drop straight into the engine bay essentially. So we've kind of already done it. We just haven't called it crate yet. So maybe we should. I'll just physically update the website and convert that and make it different. So maybe more hits.
We do this as well. For example, with the Beetle. For a Beetle, I've got a totally setup of floor pan. Means what I do with the Beetle, I can take off the chassis and have got already a fully designed drivetrain, floor pan, everything with new brakes already included, steering wheel, everything, motor in the back, and you just come with your old chassis from the old Beetle and put it onto the floor pan, mounted. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, just to refer back, we've got an answer to the question coming in from Emma Sutcliffe. So thank you, Emma. And in relation to the French company, it's apparently called Transition One. That's the name of the country converting vehicles, and they're converting specifically smaller cars, Renaults, Fiat 500, Citroens, Peugeots. So transition1.eu or is where you might go to find that.
I will look it up. Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Look, interested to know as we push on to both of you, what's been the most challenging conversion you've had to do?
Well, it's probably every conversion. Again, it is.
Every
It is. You know, it starts because if you get a new car which you don't know, you start. Okay, what kind of gearbox have I got? How can I mount the motor with a ratio? Where can I set up? Where can I have the batteries? If it's you know a small, or if it's a really special car, where can I add on? Because quite often I don't want to add some new holes, something like this to the car. I still try to keep the car as original as possible. So this is at the end of the day nearly every time a new challenge. So I wouldn't really say there is one special car which created more headache or not. It is.
Yeah, I think I just gathering my thoughts while you were talking there, Alex. The only thing I'd say to that is any car where it's small, where you've got to find space for the batteries and not go over the weight of the car, where you've got to restrict seating and all that kind of stuff, because that's a thing, Mick, as well. Because if you put too many batteries in, you won't be able to take many friends away to the beach with you.
Right.
And then secondly, anything where there's an ECU involved, so with the Audi again, we couldn't have picked a harder car. It was relatively small with a heap of ECUs to pacify. As soon as we took the engine out, the Audi said, "Well, where's my bloody engine? What have you done with it?" All this kind of stuff. So we had to basically stub all that out, which is a cutting term to basically convince the car that everything was just fine. So in brief, anything small, anything with ECUs, those are the hardest ones.
Modern, especially modern. Yeah. Like just like ABS, for example, straight away.
Yeah.
There goes lots.
Should we move on to another slide?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, we can pass on this one. That's fine. Just me showing off my car. Sorry, I like this. 1969 Mark I Ford Transit X Post car. X Aussie Post apparently.
Right, looks like an old PMG vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Might as well go next slide, isn't
it? Did it have a V4 engine?
Yeah, V4.
They were a nightmare to break it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Steering.
Crazy.
So now we're on to training.
Yeah. Okay. So look, just a little bit about this. We get asked often around, essentially from not just from DIY, but like you were saying, mechanics in the trade. What do I need to do to be able to convert a car to electric? And the answer is that it needs, like I said before, it needs an ensemble of skills, and it needs skills, but it needs an abundance of caution as well. I think ultimately is the way to describe it, because invariably the conversions, you'd be talking close to 400 volts, and a lot of the more modern ones. And essentially 400 watts, sorry, 400 volts, you only get one chance. And if you end up between, you know, a positive and negative terminal or what have you, then you could damage something, or invariably yourself as well. So, part of what Alex and myself and Traction EV and a couple of guys, the professional conversion shops within Australia have done in the last 6 months is created the EV Alliance, which is a conversion peak body. And the intent of this is to obviously provide guidance, like we're doing through this webinar, to help people understand how to convert their cars, because it is a thing, and there's a heap of interest from corporate councils and individuals who want to convert their car, and we can't do it all ourselves. So it's important to pass on this knowledge in a graceful and concise way. And so EV Alliance, like I said, was set up 6 months ago, thereabouts, I think it was. And we're busily working in the background to create a training course such that those who are interested in working on or servicing or converting electric vehicles, then they can enroll on this course and obviously be better placed to A, complete it, and B, not kill themselves as well in the process, which is always a positive, right? So yeah, so it's, like I say, it's something that's coming, and January is the launch date for that, and it'll be an online course that everyone can jump on and join and be obviously informed and better equipped to complete their own conversion and work on electric cars themselves as well.
Sure, because that was one of the questions I actually wanted to ask you when you've canvassed it now, but whether can people do their own conversions?
Yeah, look, they can, and but it's always scary. Look, I think Alex would say the same. It's always scary when well, certainly when I see on some of the Facebook groups, hey, I'm just gonna, you know, pull this Nissan Leaf battery pack apart. You know, how do I do this? How do I do the other? And then there's individuals who jump in and give advice without having any prior experience themselves, and it's just scary as all hell. I mean, in Australia, you're not allowed to put a plug on a domestic light bulb, for Christ's sake, and yet with these vehicles, you're dealing with a lot higher voltage in DC for that matter as well. And obviously, we sell kits as well to allow people to convert cars to electric too, and we have to caution everyone who calls up, because obviously Alex and I think we make it look relatively easy, I think, although we might whinge occasionally about it, but we make it look quite easy. And then there's obviously other YouTubers on the internet who just convert cars just like that, and you can, over 3 or 4 episodes, you can see someone convert a Beetle to electric, and it's all very straightforward. But there's actually a heap of considerations that are required for it. Go on, Alex, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Just you see this more and more. You just go online, you buy a wrecked Tesla, whatever, and then straight away you take the drive unit out, and then you have a fast car. It doesn't work like this.
No.
So are there kind of myths that would be useful to bust, if you like, about some of these key issues that people do think that there are specific things that are very easy, that they may actually be slightly more complex and need expert advice or expert work?
Well, ultimately, sorry, Alex, go on.
No. I just start with one. Probably you go on, but it starts straight away with a battery pack. The combination with voltage, how you charge the car in a way, proper battery management system. Because if you don't have a proper battery management system, then probably your $10,000 or $20,000 batteries are gone in 2 weeks. So things like this, that's where straight away knowledge goes in.
Yeah,
for example.
Yeah, and look, I've seen some scary things where, you know, there's heaps of gotchas with this, in terms of when people are pulling battery packs together or pulling them apart, and with individuals and don't understand how I mean, we look at the battery pack, it looks pretty innocuous. There's doesn't look like, you can't smell anything. It's not like a petrol, or a lot of people just aren't used to working with that kind of voltage. We're used to understanding that petrol is flammable, and you shouldn't go with a naked flame next to a battery, next to a petrol tank and all this kind of stuff. But with batteries, they look pretty ordinary, right? So I think ultimately the answer to the question, Nick, is that it's not so much myths or what have you. It's just that there's a lot of considerations when you're building a car that need to be covered off, and and there's lots of failed builds, to be frank, but then there's a lot, and that's why we've been running a series of webinars over the last actually three months, I think, between Alex, myself, and the other EV Alliance members, to help people understand what they need to do and the considerations, and trying to give as much advice as possible, because we want this to be we want cars to be reborn and upcycled and all this kind of stuff, but we want people to live to tell the tale afterwards as well, and for the vehicles to be successfully converted rather than just converted.
Absolutely. You spoke earlier about that sort of every conversion is a challenging conversion, but do you have ones that were your favorites, that at the end you thought, this is just fantastic, that this car is now an electric vehicle, having been an ICE vehicle, now it's an EV?
Don't ask me. You see everything behind me. So
that's right.
So I found my heaven. In heaven. It's probably next one is probably going. There's maybe the Porsche. Probably there could be the Porsche or a newer model of Combi. But I'm already my VW heaven. So
yeah. For me, I think it's combination. It's a close run thing between the first Audi we did, because that was really special, and I drove it just the other day actually. Again, we still got it. It's still there as essentially a pool car within the company. So, and it's great because it looks like nothing, to be honest with you. It doesn't look like it. It's a complete sleeper. You have no clue what it is until you turn the key, and it makes all these beautiful sounds. It's just gorgeous, and even though the Audi was an amazing car to start off with, beautiful build quality, and like all Audis are, the electric drivetrain really lifted the vehicle, which doesn't make sense because it was already well refined. So then but then again, when with the Land Rovers that were converted, where they were essentially just pulled out of the field, and they were wrecks originally, and they're now far more refined than they were, and they've become essentially daily drivers for the owners. It's just incredible to see. It's just, I think everyone is. I mean, this Holden that we're looking at the moment, that's going to be amazing as well. That's going to be so. It's going to be. I mean, I've driven it in its petrol form, and it was very, very ordinary, to say the least. It's just so underpowered, it's not funny. And just to put that on the road, where it's going to be basically commuting up and down the Monash Freeway, a few months' time, and and chasing more modern cars out to get out of the way. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be fabulous. So yeah.
It's actually a good point, Russ, what you say, because the Combi now as well, I use the Combi as a daily driver. So before I never used these classic cars as a daily driver, but now having this car converted, I enjoy it as a daily driver, and it's reliable as a daily driver. And on top, I'm smiling when I'm coming home, plug it on to the charger and see the solar on top, and see, all right, here we go, straight away I get the sun, it's charging my car, and that's the whole idea, and that's what I really enjoy.
Okay, look, we've only got a few minutes left, or you've just moved. I was about to say we need to move on to the next slide. So go ahead, but we've only got a few minutes left. So
is there any other points to cover, Nick?
Well, no, I mean, if we're done with the slides, I mean, I think, to be honest, I think
Yeah.
Alex's background with those combis behind his shoulder is actually good. But I am interested in talking about fast charging and the significance of fast charging.
I see it always depend on the use, how you want to use the car, because fast chargers straight away, they cost more because you run a different system or depend on the conversion, but quite often to use fast charger, you need some extra charger, they cost more, and there is a bit more know-how behind. I think to use the car probably in an easy way as a daily car, then yes, probably or if no, let's put it this way: if you go on a longer run, yes, then you need fast charger. And I'm really happy actually to see that NMA is doing a lot to invest and build on our highway down to Sydney more and more fast charger. And I think this need to be the future, and I hope this will be the future. The next combi I'm doing, it will have a range of 240 k's, means I'm from Byron can go up to Brisbane, can put it on a fast charger, have a coffee, and go straight away back. And
Yeah.
that's what I would like to go as well down to Sydney. So I can see now NMA's putting more and more fast chargers down to Sydney, and that's I think that's a really good, perfect setup and the right direction to the future.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that is that you know, not every car needs a DC fast charger. It's not really a thing. It's just, you know, we're starting to put 22 kilowatt AC charging in our vehicles. There's more AC chargers around than there are fast DC. So that's typically more usable than a DC fast charger, and we can do it for a much better price than putting Demo or CCS2 in by a long way. So that's just something to consider for those that are considering this as well. I think this might be one of the last slides here. Look, This is something that we're working on at the moment. Obviously, we are working on bespoke conversions, as is Alex, I believe. But part of what we're attempting to do, I've used the word repeatable a number of times, and that's the aim over the coming months, is to start repeating some of the builds that we've developed the IP for and all the designs, etc. Like we said at the beginning, right when we first look at a vehicle, there's a heap of time and head scratching trying to work out where we're going to put everything. And to be blunt, we don't always get it right first time. And you know, so we have to you know, consider how we do that. So the intent, you know, long term, I think for what everyone on the EV Alliance is to start bringing down the prices of these conversions as much as possible, and make it much more repeatable and price booked almost, really. So if you have a car of a certain like a combi or whatever it's going to be, then, you know, we can say, well, this is the price, and it will be done in, you know, 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it's going to be, and you know, job done.
Great. Hey, look, that's all we've got time for. So I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and to thank Russ Shepherd from Evolution and Alex Bosine from EV Classics. It's been a lively and interesting conversation. You guys have brought a lot of knowledge, and I'm sure the people who have joined us tonight will be much better informed about EV conversions. I'd like to take this opportunity before we wrap up completely to again acknowledge and thank our sponsors. Our principal sponsor, Bank Australia, our major sponsor, NRMA, and our community sponsors, Anova Community Energy, Light Touch Solar and Electrical, and Club Car. I'd also like very much to thank the ZEB team, Glenn Todd, Bridie Schmidt, Muriel Watt, and Christabel Munson for all the work they've done behind the scenes. And to tell you that our next event is on Tuesday, the 1st of December, 6 p.m. It's on the screen there, Going the Distance. Really looking at the range issues to do with EVs. The speakers will be Bryce Gayton from the Australian Electric Vehicle Association and Marty Andrews from Charge Fox. I'm Mick O'Regan. It's been a great pleasure to be part of this discussion tonight. I so hope that you'll join us again on Tuesday, the 1st of December. But from all of us at Zero Emissions Byron and this webinar series, thank you very much. And thanks for joining us. Good night.
Thanks, Mick.
Thanks.
All the best.
Thanks a
Cheers.
lot.
All the best, guys.
Thanks.
Much appreciated.